This episode of The Edge is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek.fm at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the nonprofit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode, join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
Hi, I'm Rekha Sharma, and I played Landry on Star Trek Discovery. You are listening to The Edge on Trek FM.
What have you done out there on the edge of Federation space?
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of The Edge, Trek FM's dedicated podcast to Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Patrick Devlin, and with me today is my best friend, Amy Nelson. Amy, how are you?
I am doing so good today, Patrick. Thank you so much. So good to be back on The Edge with a short trek today.
Yeah, it should be interesting. We'll see where it goes.
Oh, yes, it will be interesting.
I think we have very different takes on this, so...
Yeah, since it dropped, we've been messaging back and forth. And so, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. So let's start with the easy one. What are your initial thoughts of the second short trek, Calypso?
Okay. So I was hook, line, sinker, just from the get-go. And I'm not sure why it was. Because if you remember last time on Runaway, we both were sort of had a lot of questions and didn't particularly care for it. But this one, and so I don't know if I did a mental transition in my head and saying, okay, no expectations, take it for what it is and just try and enjoy it. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. The whole time I was just smiling through it. It was so sweet, so beautiful in the first place. Like all the shots and just the idea. It was very simple. I felt that in reading through some of the comments that some fans had to say, like they were saying, oh, it was too long and too boring and it didn't have enough action. And that was one of the things that drew me to it. And so my first gut response was, wow, I really liked it. So, Patrick, what was your initial response?
Okay, so, oh boy. I'm glad to hear that, actually, because when I looked through postcards, it was like right after I had watched it, was like, which I didn't watch it when it first like posted. I saw it like 2 hours later, and everyone was glowing about it. And I thought, there must be a third short treks.
You are so bad.
We can't have just watched the same thing. And then, look, you're right. It looked beautiful. The scenes when they grab him when he's in that little space tube and we're watching Betty Boop for some reason, which was a little odd, but that was cool. I'm okay with that. I don't have any problem with it. It was just weird. And, everything there was great. The ship looked great. I just kept looking at my wife like, are we done yet? This is so long. It was so slow. And I mean, the story, like, I agree with a lot of what you said. The story they were telling was awesome, I guess.
Oh,
but it took so long to get there.
That was, okay. Life is about the journey, not the destination.
It's called short treks, not extremely long 10-minute episode.
Oh my gosh, Patrick. The experience, like it just didn't relate or resonate with you because that experience, it needed that time to breathe. It needed that time. It didn't feel so rushed and pressured like Runaway did to me.
No, I agree with that. It didn't feel rushed and pressured, except, and I'll get into this, a lot of things were rushed and pressured and just kind of glossed over, which I think is part of what's the problem here is they took a long time on certain things and then they just kind of like, yeah, we're not going to talk about that. and that kind of bothered me. And again, this is my very initial watch through, and I've since started to like it more with a second and third watch, but only because I kind of understood I was giving up half my day to watch this 10-minute episode.
Oh my gosh. Half your day, please.
It was really slow. It really was. And so if you like that, that's fine. I mean, that's just, it's different takes on what you want to see and how you want it to present it to you. I don't understand the people who are like, no, it wasn't slow at all. The pacing was quick. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was quick at all. No.
There were a few scenes that were like when he was walking around the mess hall, 3 of him.
The time lapse.
Right. So those were quick, but that was it. It was also, that was cool seeing. I loved the fact that he didn't know what Tuesday was.
Oh, yep.
I thought it was hilarious. That's the only time I laughed through the whole thing, but I thought it was hilarious that he didn't know what Tuesday was.
Oh my
at all.
gosh.
Because I've always had this question, and this is one of the things I love that they did in this little short tracks. I'm going to give it credit here, is they always talk about days, years, time, and everything else as if they're just standing on Earth again. Mm-hmm. And that never really made sense to me. Why does the whole universe use a 7-day calendar? And for him to be like, oh, Taco Tuesday, what's Tuesday?
Yeah.
And he had to be explained that, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I do agree with you, but I understand where it's coming from. I mean, it is TV. It is made for us. Our Earth revolves around the sun 365 days. We have...
no, I get it.
So that's one thing I just, put to the side and say, okay, that's what it is. But when I saw What's a Tuesday, that totally made me think, I don't know if you've seen Downton Abbey on PBS, but that's set in the early 1900s. And so one of the grandmothers, they were talking about, working and, well, I guess I could do this task on the weekend. And the old grandmother was like, what is a weekend? Oh my gosh, I busted up laughing. And this was the same thing. What is a Tuesday? I loved it.
Yeah, right. It was great. I mean, look, like you said, you just have to kind of they're playing it to the audience, so they're going to use our days.
Yeah.
It just makes more sense than just making up random days. But when they do it, I think it's great.
Yeah.
When they do have someone like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like as if Tuesday was the food, But I did find it a little weird that there was a sombrero on top of the tacos. They didn't do that with any other food.
Well, the waffles had syrup on top. I mean,
yeah, but they didn't have a beret or anything. It was a little weird. It was a cool looking sombrero, but I don't know. That was a little weird. Just as an observation, it doesn't make or break or do anything really for the episode. But
yeah,
especially since tacos in hard shells are American. But whatever.
Right. So I had a question for you because, I do postcards from the Edge. Listeners, I hope that you listened to that. But there were a lot of comments of people saying, oh, well, this reminded me of fill in the blank. And there were quite a few mentions of different movies or even short stories. Were you reminded of anything that this episode was about?
Ironically, my wife pointed out it's like the movie AI in reverse, or not in reverse, but a different dynamic of the relationship. Instead of a child to parents and vice versa, it was man to woman, I guess. But I don't know. Everything about it just kind of seemed very generic sci-fi to me.
Yeah, I was watching and I definitely got a Wall-E vibe or Ex Machina. Is that how you say it? Machina?
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I could see that. I mean, but we don't really know what happened to Earth, though, right? Because Wall-E was that Earth was destroyed.
Right.
And he was off at war somewhere.
Yeah. Totally different place, not Federation, so.
No, yeah, it was very weird. Otherwise, he'd know what Tuesday was if it was Federation.
No, he wasn't.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, he would understand what a Tuesday was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it just seemed to me it seemed very generic, which isn't the worst thing in the world. I mean, I've seen people use that as a negative for this short trek, but just telling the same story isn't so bad if you tell it well. I mean, that's kind of what storytelling's become, period, right? Mm-hmm. Every horror movie is based off some other horror movie at this point, and so on and so forth. So it's not the worst thing in the world. It just seemed generic, a little more generic than I guess I'm used to with Star Trek. But again, we're narrowing this down to not a full episode.
Right.
So it's not the end of the world that takes place.
Mm-hmm.
The talking ship itself was a little weird to me. The way they were showing it talk. We've never seen it have like a display with sound waves before.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, when you're saying that, I'm like, oh, it's like when we edit our audio files, we see the waveforms.
Has never happened in Star Trek.
Yeah, and I'm like, so why do we see that? I mean, maybe she's now wanting to display more of herself. I don't know.
Okay, but so yes, that's what I thought of originally, right? So that's what I said to myself. I said, well, that makes sense because she's more human at this point, right? That's what we're kind of going for, which I will dispute in a minute. But that's what we're going for, except she makes a comment at one point where she has been updating herself for 1,000 years or upgrading herself for 1,000 years. And I guess she picked that she's a she, so whatever. But and that might change depending on who she takes onto the ship, actually, right? If
I don't think
she
so.
called a female, would she portray a male persona?
Well, I don't think so, because if you look back on vehicles, transportation vehicles, they are generally she's. I mean, go back to ships and
yes,
people naming their cars. It's usually a girl, so for some reason that is the historical standard or what is common. So I think it makes sense. I'm not saying it's, anything sexism or anything. I think that's just
no. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if she would have picked up a man, does the AI change so that it can try and have a relationship with the man, woman? I'm sorry, if it picked up a woman.
Oh,
like whatever. We'll get into that in a minute. I'm jumping way ahead of myself here.
Okay.
But it makes the comment that it had been upgrading itself for 1,000 years. So now, am I to believe that someone installed these display screens? I guess you know what they look like to me. Do you ever see the Nest thermostat?
yes.
It looks like a Nest thermostat with a different front, but which might have been where the idea for the image came from. But did someone install those 1,000 years ago, or did these things just like appear on the ship one day? And if they did, who installed them? If this was an upgrade that the computer did to itself?
Well, I think that there are display panels throughout, and so she could have reprogrammed what is being displayed and decided to choose that shape to do that.
But they were like things above the doors now.
Well, yeah, but you know how the doors, have the little, I don't know. It's not a big deal to me.
It was just an odd, but that's one of the places where they sped through it, where I would have liked to known a little bit more about these upgrades.
Yeah.
If we're looking at the ship as a character, right? Why aren't we exploring that character?
Well,
that was my only thing.
I think we are. And I think it's a snapshot in time.
But I also think we're giving it too much credit.
So that brings me to a couple of my questions that it's like, okay, so we know it's 1,000 years. So does it take 1,000 years for a computer to evolve and become sentient? Like,
wait,
how
I have a question before that.
Okay.
Is this computer sentient?
Yes.
Why?
Because do you need to watch Measure of a Man?
No, I don't. But
because she knows who she is. She's self-aware, right?
Are we sure of that?
Yes.
We're positive.
Yes.
I'm not.
Why aren't you?
Because one thing happens in this episode that throws all of that off to me.
Okay, what?
The fact that it will not break its last order.
But she does.
No, she doesn't leave. She sends him off.
But that's in sort of breaking orders because...
No. She said, I can't go. And then she talks him out of leaving on the shuttlecraft because she doesn't want him to leave. That reminds me a lot of the Hoshi episode from Enterprise where she meets the lobster face looking thing.
Oh.
But someone connects to her mind, gets her to come.
Yeah,
and
I remember that
tries to trick her the whole way through. I can't remember the name of the episode, but that's kind of what he's doing. The computer's kind of doing a similar thing of convincing him, trying to convince him to stay in just a different way. And but then she will not break that last order. So my argument is, and maybe I'm completely off base, and trust me, they'll tell me if I am, that act alone shows that it's just a really sophisticated AI and not necessarily sentient.
Okay. So that goes into my question, like, so she's following orders to stay in orbit. Is it reasonable for her to stay there for 1,000 years if she develops reasoning capabilities?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Which is my whole argument on why she might not be sentient.
Huh.
It's not reasonable because at some point, if you're sentient, you have to understand that they ain't not coming back.
Yeah.
You have their medical records on file. You know they don't live 1,000 years.
Yeah.
He even says to her, they're dead. And she's like, I know. I'm staying here. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, okay. True. It doesn't make sense. But she still doesn't have anyone to take command and therefore give a different order. I mean, Kraft doesn't.
Would Data need that?
Well, I think the reasonable person and or computer or sentient being or Data would head back to 001 Earth.
Right. That would make more sense.
Than just
at some point
there. Yeah.
Right. If they parked Data in the ocean, let's say, eventually he'd be like, well, they're not coming back for me. I got to go figure out what to do now.
Yeah.
So that's, and we know, as we stated, we know that he's sentient, right? So I don't know, but is that even the measuring stick? Could that not even be the measuring stick? And it's way off base. That maybe it's just decided it's going to listen forever, which seems ridiculous. Because then the other question, and this is actually a question I didn't come up with. I didn't even think of it. I don't know if the person wants me to name them, so I'm not going to. But if when they listen to this, if they want to throw their name in the comments and take credit for this, cool. But I was talking to someone just today, because they had only seen it last night. And how come the dilithium crystals haven't run out yet in 1,000 years?
Because they have the technology from Runaway to re-energize them.
I guess. All right, I'll buy it.
All right.
I thought to myself, well, maybe because it was basically shut down for 1,000 years and whatever. But we do see that they have to recharge dilithium crystals, right?
Yep.
I mean,
yeah,
from points, different times. But all right, fine, I'll buy that excuse.
But I mean, dilithium crystals are going to run out faster when you're warping around.
They are, yeah. Well, that's in my head. That's what I thought. Though I figured because it was in orbit.
Well, no.
Really
So they're just sort of parked. That's not taken. I mean, think about a car. Your car is going to idle much longer.
Yeah,
on a tank of gas.
My car's not upgrading itself.
Well, I know, but that's the beauty of this episode.
Look, that one wasn't even my argument. That's actually, I said all the things you just said,
yeah.
And the answers I got back are the ones I'm giving you. So I'm really cheating you. So I didn't think of any of that myself, and you answered exactly the way I did. Like, it was just sitting there parked.
Yeah.
So gas will stay in a car forever, But it was just a question that came up when I was talking to somebody who just they didn't enjoy the episode either, honestly. But
okay,
and I thought that was a good one to bring up, that particular question.
So going back to where I think this episode brings us into this character development of the character of Discovery, I like the idea that this computer is going to continually upgrade. I mean, and we've seen hints of it in Next Gen and, other Star Trek. So it's not that far
Voyager.
out there. Yeah.
We saw it with the Doctor constantly upgrading.
Exactly.
And that's essentially the same technology.
There you go.
And I love that fact too. And I'll tell you the truth, upon further thinking about it, I do like it more. I just think they cut a little corners just to get this thing done in the time frame they needed to, which... Like the whole, I can't leave because it's my orders thing. And then sending him on the shuttlecraft because you don't have that big finish if she just flies off with him. Because then they're still together, right? Even if they go home looking for his family, they're still together. And it's kind of like, well, we're not lovers, but we're best friends, And you want that scene was actually done extremely well where he freezes the program. Ironically, there's hollow emitters on the deck again, but he freezes the program and she cries even though she's frozen. And if you don't have that order keeping her from leaving, we don't get any of this, right? Because he just gets on the ship and goes, all right, take me home. Okay.
Yeah. So going to that, you brought that up and I was glad I'm not the only one because I didn't see anyone or hear about any comments like this exploration of emotional cheating. Like it was just so poignant to me. And so I have, first of all, a question. Like that time lapse that we see him eating and, going around the ship, and like, how long do you think that he was on Discovery before getting to leave? Like, what's
so here's what I thought.
Okay.
Because I've been asked this 7 times now from 7 different people, and I've come up with basically the same answer for everybody. I don't think it was a short period of time, right? It wasn't like a couple of weeks. I don't think it really matters either, but it wasn't a couple of weeks. But I don't think it was more than, say, 5 or 6 years. So I'm thinking between 3 and 5, honestly, because just the time-lapse scenes usually denote large amounts of time, and they happen kind of twice, right? Like, and but we don't really see him age too much either.
Right.
And presumably he's a human from outside of Federation space. So he should still age similar to the way we do. So if it was like 10 years, it'd be a noticeable difference in his appearance, but we don't really see that, which is why I was really kind of cheating towards 3, but hedged my bets to 5.
Yeah. So we know that he hasn't seen his wife and child for 10 years because he said that, but that was more along the lines of because he was away fighting this war. Right.
Yeah,
so that's
captive.
not the 10 years. We're not going to say 10 years that he was on Discovery.
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, he does say that 10 years early in the episode, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we don't know what happens after that.
Exactly. So that was my question, because it seems like, I don't know. It's a fine line. I mean, obviously nothing happens. I mean, it's a computer. I get it. But, all the nice things, and I'm using air quotes for nice, all the nice things that Zora is doing for him that he interprets as, oh, she's doing something nice for me. Let me do something nice for you. That reciprocity going on between them, like he's developing emotions for her, and Zora's developing emotions for him. And so it's just that. And then when they're dancing and you can see the look that flashes on Kraft's face, and he's like, oh my gosh, I have a child. I have a family I need to get back to. And it just sort of snaps him out of it, where it's like, come back to reality. This isn't going to work. You have a family you need to get back to. Like, it was so, I don't know, I've seen a lot of cheating, emotional and physical cheating going on in my family and in my friends' lives and stuff like that. It just was, for me, it seemed very bonk on the head, that it's like, okay, as soon as you see it, you need to get out, go away.
Agreed. I think we can forgive him for getting that close because he was away and presumably a prisoner for a while.
Yeah. So
just someone caring about him is enough to confuse him, I think, at that point, at where he is, especially since, like I said, I think it's another 3. So he's like away 13 to 15 years now. But this is the moment that I actually believe that the computer is sentient and that they just messed up in the storytelling by telling us that it wouldn't leave. Because when she realizes how upset he is, that's when she decides to send him home.
Right.
So at that moment, Zora decided, you know what? If I really love him, I have to do what's good for him.
Right.
Not what's good for me. So it's not just an AI playing out at this point. I mean, you can make an argument that it is, but that's not how it feels to me at that point.
I just think it shows, again, how much Zora has progressed to even realize that. And that's sort of what makes her a very important character in this story, Yeah,
well, because, I mean, when he shows up, she's a jerk. Because she's just thinking, I finally have somebody, I'm going to hold on to them.
Do you think really it was holding on?
Yes. I think she lied about the shuttlecraft because she didn't want him to leave.
Okay.
If this happened in reverse, we'd be killing that character right now. If like a human did it to another human, we'd be killing that character right now. But because it's a computer, we're kind of just letting it go. I think that should be a part of it, because without that, there really is no growth, right? Then it's just, she just came to the realization at that moment. But I think you're right when you use the word growth, because it shows she was concerned about herself having someone, because she hadn't seen anyone in, we keep saying 1,000 years, but we don't know. There might have been others in between.
Right.
But for a long time, she hasn't had contact with any other life form. And amazingly, for 1,000 years, no one noticed this barren ship sitting in one orbit of one planet.
Right.
Okay. But so she's just looking out for herself at the moment, which self-preservation is an important part of existence.
Yes.
But then at the end, she realizes, wow, I could really I'm like destroying him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really doing harm to him by keeping him from his actual family.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what to follow that up with either.
There was some cute things in this short, I thought. Maybe.
Yeah, I thought there was some cute scenes. I mean,
I really had to chuckle because when he got out and then was trying to put on a uniform and it didn't fit because he's so muscular. Dreamy eyes. Insert dreamy eyes here. But I thought that was cute, and he was like trying to get it on. Like she sort of scans him and says, here, try this one. And then it fits. And then he had the disco t-shirt on and, being all casual and stuff. So the last outfit that she put him in, that was more for traveling, more.
I didn't get it.
I was wondering why that one was just a little bit more special. Like it seemed like to have more shielding or protectiveness.
Yeah, I guess. Like it seemed like
like a warrior or something.
Almost, right? It was. Let me see if I remember this right. So it was kind of goldish, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of went high on the neck too, like as if like a mask was supposed to, or a helmet was supposed to go on top of it, but there was no helmet.
Right.
And I don't know. It kind of looked superhero-ish.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
Like, yeah, I was sort of wondering, like, well, that's a little weird, because everything up until then we had seen, like the white uniform or the disco T-shirt.
Yeah, and if they would have given like the, let's see, so presumably, I don't know. See, this is the problem too. When does disco go missing is part of the problem too. Is it in service for 2 years and then it gets stranded? Is it in service for 100 years and then gets stranded? But whatever, they could have decided that anyway. But so whatever, that's not important. If it would have been like the Class A uniforms or the dress uniforms for Starfleet, that would have made more sense to me, I think. Because he's being sent off the ship, like whatever. But then again, I don't know. People made a lot of comments I saw online about how great that outfit was, and I just don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something, and if I am, someone tell me on why it's so great, because it just seemed like a gold superhero outfit.
Yeah, I didn't see the connection. Like, was it straight civilian? I don't know.
Yeah, royalty?
Yeah.
It should have had some medals or something, right? I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah. I know a lot of people like talking ship design and his shuttlecraft. They showed some great shots of that one coming in and getting brought in by Discovery. I thought it was a very interesting design for a shuttlecraft for an alien nation that we've never seen before.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I'm not going to I don't go crazy over the designs of every single ship. So, I mean, they all have their merits and they all have their negatives to me, but I thought it was cool. I thought it looked kind of like it came from a war or like a prison colony or something, so it fit itself. It fit what they were going for really well. I thought that the coolest part of that is when it was in front of it, Discovery looked like rusted and stuff. I thought that was even cooler. So I was distracted by what Discovery looked like in a lot of that. So because it looked like a rust bucket, and I'm like, that's kind of weird. That looks awfully beat up. And we find out that it's been sitting there for 1,000 years, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know I said this on postcards. Sorry, listeners, talking about that 1,000 years. So a computer is not going to round any number unless being told to do so. So here we get this random 1,000 years. When I think about when Data is going to say, well, it was, 1,127 years,
16 days,
16
4
days, 4 hours,
yeah.
and 27.873 seconds, but that was first season Data. And then people are like, Data, I don't need that much exactness, just give me but even then he still gave exact time, just not to the nanosecond, right? So a computer is not going to round to 1,000 years. So I just find it interesting that it's exactly 1,000 years.
I didn't even think of it. I didn't. I just took it as a number that he gave out. Okay, but you're right. I mean, now that you say it, you're absolutely right. That if it was 1,001 years, they wouldn't say 1,000.
Right. A computer
wouldn't. The
wouldn't.
computer should say 1,001 years at the very worst.
Right. Because
so it would be exactly 1,000 years that.
Yeah, a computer's not going to round to the nearest thousands.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there could be an argument made that because it became sentient, it followed the voice patterns or the speech patterns of the past crew, that it could have done it on its own. But even then, like, you're right, they kind of fell somewhere in the middle there. Like, they said 1,000, so if you want to believe it's being rounded, you can. And if you don't, they really didn't get specific enough for you to believe it's the computer speaking either. Because they should have been like, oh, it was June, 1,000 years, 6 months, whatever.
Yeah. So have you seen Funny Face?
No.
Yeah, me neither. And I was like, oh, do I have time to watch it before recording this? I have not seen Funny Face, so I don't understand the entire backstory of that film and how it plays in. I mean, I get the idea. I sort of feel like when they were trying to explain in Darmok, Juliet's on a balcony, and that
right.
Love. I get the idea that there was a love scene going on between Kraft and Zora, but I don't have that full complex story. So I feel a little missing on that. I might have to watch it later.
Yeah, and it might change some opinions too, but I don't know. I think the scene you see is the scene that you're meant to see anyway.
Yeah.
So that if you see that scene from Funny Face, that it doesn't matter that you haven't seen. You understand enough about the episode.
That it's yeah.
Yeah, that's really it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's probably more to it, but if you see that, you're fine. I guess after learning that the shuttlecraft was called Funny Face, that was kind of cool. Weird that it would rename the ship.
Well, okay. So I'm going back and forth because I really like it, but then yet I don't like it because it seems still too emotionally connected to each other, where he's going off to be with his family. And yet you're still making this connection of love. And maybe they have at that point decided, well, it's just now a companionship, it's a friendship, but he says, if we were on my planet, you being my significant other, you being the person that I love, would name me. And then she says, well, I already have. And so I was just like, wait a minute. No, you're not in a relationship anymore. You are leaving. You're going to your family. So I'm sitting on the fence because I think it's so cute and so wonderful. And, this nice send off. And he will always have that to remember. But he will always have that to remember.
Right. But he's married.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm glad you bring this up because I would have been called a hater for saying that. And the truth is, it's ridiculous at the end there. First of all, I couldn't see what the shuttlecraft was called because I didn't have my glasses on, so I had no idea what the name was. And I I had said that on someone's post. I think Brandy's post or something like that. That I didn't even know that's what it said because I didn't have my glasses on. But once learning it, like I kind of had a reaction like you. I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. Oh, wait a second.
I know.
The whole point of this is that he's going home to his wife.
Yeah.
So let me get this right. If I went to war and then I was gone for 10 years and I met a girl there, would I take her jewelry home with me?
Right.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I that'd be ridiculous. I would try and hide that for the rest of my life because that's not good.
Yeah.
Like, and this is like bringing home. This is almost like bringing home a kid because remember the relationship you're having is with a ship, and you're bringing home a smaller ship.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about it. That's so.
I
funny.
didn't either till this exact moment, but it is. It's like bringing home your baby. It's also weird that they're able to change the name of the stupid shuttlecraft.
Oh my gosh! What? That is not even the point.
It is weird.
Why?
It is
you
weird.
Put some paint and you name it. This is nothing.
Who?
She engraved it with her lasers.
Oh, come on.
Okay, so while you were saying that whole thing about going off, it's like a little bit of that Florence Nightingale syndrome, right? Because she, took him in, revived him, saved his life in essence. And so there's a little bit of that going on in the relationship as well.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a lot of pop culture of different eras, I guess. Is that right? Going on in this episode, which I guess is also leading to some confusion. But like you said, it's just weird because they never really get over the relationship that they're no longer going to have. And again, I go back to if it means that much to you, then just leave the coordinates. Just fly him home.
Yeah, and then come back.
Yeah, or just stay there. Don't ever come back. Just be done with this. Your crew is never coming back. You're listening to the orders of a dead man. Mm-hmm. And it's not like, it's not like you're holding the line for anything. I mean, there's nothing happening.
Yeah.
It'd be one thing if like the ship was engaged in some kind of weird fight for 1,000 years or was in a stalemate with another ship or something. And the two crews killed each other. And they both were there to make sure the other one didn't pass. But this is just a ship in orbit.
Yeah. But it does go to the loyalty of Discovery and her willingness to follow orders and be really a member of Starfleet, if you will.
I guess.
I mean, that's one way to look at it.
It is. I just don't think Data would have done it. And I'm judging all of this off of Data's reactions. I am. And maybe that's not right, but that's how I'm doing it because he's another Starfleet android that's sentient, right? And this is essentially, it doesn't look like a human, so it's not an android, but it's taking on all the same characteristics he would. So
the ship not returning back to Federation space and or Earth, do you think that is one explanation that the Discovery is just lost and so we don't ever hear of it again?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's how they could finish this whole series and tie this thing back into it. That it goes somewhere and that's it. But that's kind of depressing, right?
Why? Ships get lost all the time.
I understand that, but the crew goes off and dies.
Well, on a mission.
Yeah, I like Michael Burnham.
Yeah, okay. I don't mean Tilly to be so cold-hearted.
I mean...
You knew what you signed up for.
Very true. I just don't want... No.
Yeah.
All right, so how about this? We'll transfer everyone off. It'll be like a really bad ending like Enterprise had. We'll literally transfer everybody off an episode before the last one. We'll put a whole new crew on there. That guy will go somewhere and tell it not to move for 2,000 years.
Okay, sold.
Good. We fixed that. You knew what you signed up for. Wow.
I know, listeners. Oh, don't judge. Don't judge.
Yeah, don't judge, but it's becoming the name of the episode.
Oh.
Yeah, that whole time thing and the whole not leaving is just, it's a sticking point for me. Because it ruined so many other good things that happened in the episode for me. Because I just don't think it's sentient because of that. And I think that's what ruins it. Or I can just get rid of that little piece and then everything else can fall in line. So
yeah,
I guess I'll just have to get rid of that little piece.
So do you think that this episode fit into specifically Star Trek Discovery?
Nope.
Okay. And are you okay with that?
No.
Okay.
I think it would have been better as just a Star Trek short. I think I would have enjoyed it more if I didn't think of it as Discovery. I don't know why it matters to me. Maybe because I tried to go in with no expectations. We knew we were seeing somebody we'd never seen before, right? But I was hoping that this was going to be someone from Starfleet, which would make sense, right? And but it's not. It's just not. It's just some random person on a ship lost in space, and they just happen to name it the Discovery because that just happens to be the show we're watching right now.
Unless you don't consider the ship a character.
I guess. I mean, but it could be the ship. You could literally swap this for any other ship. We consider all the ship's characters, right?
Right. Exactly.
So we could have literally had this exact same short happen in 1986, called it the Enterprise, and it had been the same story.
Okay. Maybe and maybe not, because the life experiences of Discovery has been so drastically different than other ships. Like the Zora is going to be unique because of the experiences of Discovery. Yeah, you could say give 1,000 years and that any of these ships would, come out to be sentient. Maybe. And that is a philosophy that we are exploring in this short is if that is true, then yes, all of the future ships, given 1,000 years, would become sentient. I think that story is worth exploring, and that's what it's doing, is looking at it and examining and saying, could that happen? And if so, then Zora is going to be unique because of her experiences.
Yeah, but does that uniqueness play out in this episode?
I think so, because she is the only one. Like how Data is unique because he is the only one until we meet Lore, right? But until then, he is unique.
So I agree with that, but my point is, does the fact that Zora has had different experiences from, say, the Enterprise A, B, C, D, and E, or Voyager, or the Enterprise NX-01, does that, although the NX-01, I don't think it would ever become sentient, even given enough time.
Right.
I don't think the computers were strong enough. But given the time that all these become, was there enough difference? Did we see enough from Zora that would tell you that this is definitely if I didn't tell you it was Discovery, would you know?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. And so, yeah, that sort of goes to my point that it's like, yeah, it's not really a Discovery episode if you don't consider the ship a character. But you're saying if you didn't know anything, would you associate it with Discovery? I see.
Right. Because I think you're right. I think that if you did take this to its full potential, and I guess you got the 6-7 ships that lasted 1,000 years and put them in space together, they could have conversations and you'd see different characteristics of each. But did we see enough from Zora to know the characteristics that would differentiate it from other ships that went through 1,000 years and became sentient? Again, providing you believe it became sentient.
Well, I think it's interesting to look at because we know that Captain Georgiou was her captain, and for a time, wait, no, my bad.
No,
I misspoke. Wrong ship. So we know that Captain Lorca was captain, but that was Mir, and that Discovery was in Mir universe. So maybe she saw enough of that to make the transition, and then maybe future captains, maybe even Burnham, enough time to get her to her understanding about craft and willing to send him on his way.
Maybe. I'm just thinking, well, maybe this episode does better for me. This short trek does better for me between episodes, season 5 and 6, because maybe part of the problem is they don't want to show too much personality from the ship because we haven't seen any of those other captains yet.
Right.
And maybe if we did, then that would be different. But I just feel like they didn't give it enough personality. They gave it personality. They just didn't give it anything specific to anything we've seen Discovery go through yet.
Yeah. And again, maybe because we just don't know enough.
We don't have enough of the story, right? Yeah. And that could be a lot of it. And that could be Or it could just be that they didn't feel like giving us that because it's
Yeah.
10-minute episode and they have to fit it. But I hate that as an excuse for why things are left out of these episodes. I noticed a lot of that in the last one.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's only 10 minutes, so they can't explain it all. Yeah, I get that, but then don't even go into it. So I don't know. Maybe there'll be things that happen this season. We're like, oh, that's why she said that. You know, who knows?
Yeah. And I hope so, because I'd like to think that these shorts will be at least brought up in future seasons. You know, I don't know how Craft or Discovery or Zora is going to happen within season 2. But I think from what we saw with Runaway, that's an evidence story that it fits into Discovery and what we know about Tilly and stuff like that. And it sounds like, based off of the characters that the next 2 are about, Saru and Mud, that's going to fit totally within the timeline. So it's very interesting that this one is just plucked and put in the future 1,000 years. So I'm wondering if there is a long game to the writers of this Discovery.
Well, I hope so, but it just, as it stands right now, it doesn't make much sense to me that they went 1,000 years in the future. It was one of my complaints. They could easily remedy this, and like 3 episodes in, someone just installs a whole bunch of Nest thermostats above the doors, and they're like, well, there's the start of it. You know, I mean, and it's really an easy fix, and I know they're not going to do it because it's an easy fix. So, but it could be something along those lines, some stupid little throwaway comment at some point about upgrades could fix the whole thing and put this back within the realm, you know, that we're watching.
Right.
I just don't know if they're going to do it. And if they don't, it just seems, it was a little jarring that we're 1,000 years in the future out of nowhere.
Yeah.
With a secondary character that we never saw, learning about a ship that we're not even sure turns out that way. So, but like, you know, we had Tilly, Mud, and Saru coming, right? So they make sense because we could easily pick up their story at any moment.
Yeah.
And it'd be fine, but whatever. I don't know. My wife made a great point that the one thing that could be following through all of these at some point is the idea of compassion could actually fit through all 4 of these stories at some point. She actually doesn't know that Saru and Mud are coming, but she watched the first 2, and because that was Tilly's story, and that was also the ship's ultimate story, right?
Yes.
So, and that's what made them. She pointed out that's what makes. That's the trait that might make Tilly a leader one day, because she was a captain in Mirror Universe. So the idea is that she would also make a good leader in our universe, just the opposite kind of leader. I completely disagree with her, but that's the point she made, and it's actually a valid point.
Yeah, it is. And pretty smart woman you got there, Patrick. Because, definitely you can see the compassion in both how Tilly's response was, to... What's her name?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I hope we see her again.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot.
Susan. Yep.
And then also, the compassion that Zora has for Craft, definitely.
Right, and Craft has for Zora though too. At some point, like at the beginning, he's just like, "Let me out of here," but that I say quickly changes, but we don't know exactly how much time it took. Right. But it quickly in the episode it changes, and so that's kind of an overlying theme so far. And we might find that goes out the window with the next one, but who knows? We might find out that it doesn't. We might find parts of Saru and Mud, even Mud, that fit in this little theme, and then at the end we're all going to go, oh, if you put those 4 stories together, you have one full episode.
Yeah, I think you're spot on about that compassion piece. I think, bets are we're going to see that. And
can't take credit for it. It's my wife.
Oh, good thing I like your wife so much. That's awesome. When's she coming on?
Yeah, people would like her more. But I've tried to get her to come on. She doesn't want to hear her own voice.
That's why you don't listen.
It's a good call. Yeah, I think we covered everything about this episode, though, right? We hit the AI versus computer, whether it's sentient, how long. We talked about Craft. We talked about Zora. We talked a lot about a little 10-minute episode.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I talked a lot of negative, but I think I talked enough positive to make that kind of a well-rounded discussion, right?
Yeah.
Because we definitely differed greatly on how we perceived that episode in the end. And I think, like I said, as I watched it the second time, it was a little bit better. But there was just those few little questions that really
Just
hurt the episode a bit for
stuck
me.
it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the whole. I don't know. I hate to do this to the episode, but it's really more of the answers of it's a 10-minute episode. Who cares? That I think make them bother me more. Like it actually bothers me more that people are answering that way, and I'm kind of taking it out on the episode.
I see.
Like, don't answer that way. Look, just say you don't care. I mean, it's just because sometimes I say that. I do. It's true. It's something that happened. I go, I don't care.
Yep.
It happens. They messed up, but whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But just being like, it's a 10-minute episode, so they don't have to bother. You know, they still kind of have to. If we're not going to talk about that, why are we doing a podcast? That's kind of my thing about it. Like, we don't have to analyze this if we're not going to at least bring up the things that annoyed us a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I, again, comparing and contrasting from, our last discussion with Runaway, and like, we were both like, okay, no expectations because we were a little harsh on Runaway. And so again, I just don't know what was different about this short compared to Runaway, because just right from the beginning, I was hooked. I loved the slowness and the pacing of it all. And I loved the story that we got to see with Kraft. I do. And I'm totally fine that it was just picked up, plopped in the future. You don't know if it's a Discovery story. I like that it's a Star Trek story because we do pull on, a better future for humanity, including computers and AI, that there is, like your wife said, compassion, like that people are bettering themselves. So I really enjoy that part of this episode. And yeah, I just don't care that it's not Discovery per se. I mean, this could have happened in any of the series, and I'm totally fine with that.
Awesome. See, because that's how I kind of feel that if it was just some random ship, it would have actually been a better first watch. I did think it was a little slow, but I do want to touch on something you just said that we didn't actually touch on. You said a better humanity in the future, but we still have war.
But that's true. But that wasn't within Federation.
True.
So I think that sort of goes a long way with where we are considering. And I think it goes... Okay, go ahead.
So do you think this might be like the people... I just thought of this because we're talking about it. I never thought of it before this moment, but do you think this would be like the people that were kind of in the neutral zone or something along those lines?
Huh.
Maybe they moved farther out or something like that.
Right.
Because they're not in the Federation, but they're human. So they couldn't have gotten that far, right? Like,
right.
We're not talking about like the Delta Quadrant here.
Yeah.
Or the Gamma Quadrant. Like, it's got to be somewhere nearby.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, just not a Federation planet.
Yeah. Right. So are these like the people who decided, well, you know what? I'm going to stay in Cardassian space. Or like the Marquis. Is this the Marquis that... 1,000 years from now, this is what their society has become.
Well, and, it could be, we look at the original series. I can't even count how many episodes they're going, well, maybe 2, I know, where they're going to, look at, is this planet worthy to join the Federation? It even happens in TNG. So just because you're in the same quadrant doesn't mean that you are automatically in Federation. You have to apply. And so it could be just one of those, planets. And
it's the basis of Deep Space Nine.
Right.
Is Bajor going to become Federation?
Yeah.
But they're not humans on that planet. But I get your point, is my point.
Yeah.
All right, so do you have any final thoughts? I think we kind of went over them just now.
Yeah, but again, I just think it's very beautiful. I do like the story. For some reason, I was just hook, line, sinker. It, to me, just spoke. It resonated with me. And I'm using these glowing words, which is so weird because I didn't on Runaway. And that contrast really has me puzzled. And I like thinking about why that didn't happen with Runaway. But this one, I don't know. There was something about it, like this low hum just throughout it just resonated with me. I really enjoyed the cinematography, the production. And I really, when I say this, I don't know much, but I really liked each of the shots. I liked the camera angles. So as I podcast more and listen to, people like Mike Schindler and, Bishay, like I'm picking up these attributes of what a producer and what a director does and their influence. And I really appreciate what was done in this short trek, definitely. With that. And I think the story was just so Star Trek to me. So I really enjoyed Calypso. So those are my final thoughts. What about yours, Patrick?
So I definitely think it's better than the first one. I mean, I definitely think it's better than Runaway. I don't think it's even comparable. The pace of it did bother me. I did sit there like, come on. And then it finally got to the end and I was like, oh, okay. I missed the whole funny face thing because I was blind, so that hurt a little bit. But so I didn't really get the significance of it. And but I do like the story it is trying to tell. Mm-hmm. I do. Like you said, the shots are amazing. The just the way they portrayed the ship to look and his ship to look and those things. And I didn't really get the significance of the gold suit at the end, but all the other clothes were kind of cool and fun that they were putting him in this. And like you said, even though I didn't quite have the same reaction to his small outfit, but I did have a reaction to his small outfit, because it was kind of interesting that he didn't understand how to replicate it in the first place, which leads you to believe he doesn't really understand replicators.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a thing that's worth exploring sometime in Star Trek at somewhere, but other than that, I mean, I enjoyed it enough, I guess. I just didn't seem to enjoy it as much as a lot of other people. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really see many negative comments, but apparently you said there were some, so I just missed them.
Yeah.
And it seems like the people that had problems with it were kind of the same. It was kind of slow. You were kind of waiting for it to end, and it didn't fit in this universe for a lot of people, it seemed.
Right.
Which I say that, it's kind of a stupid comment. It doesn't belong in and I know it's a stupid comment. I know I'm making a stupid comment. It doesn't belong in Discovery. It could have been any ship. Okay, so why not Discovery?
Right,
if it could fit on any ship, then okay, then it can fit on this one too. It doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't fit here. It's just it didn't have to be this. And I think the one expectation I had was that it was going to have to do something with something that I could see in season 2, and that's just not realistic. With this,
didn't show up that way.
Right, not in any meaningful way. Anyway, they could. Like I said, they can put a little upgrade here or make a little throwaway comment there that'll somehow tie it in, but it won't be meaningful like the Tilly one, which I didn't enjoy, but the Tilly one would be meaningful.
Yes.
And even then, we knew she was compassionate, though, right? Like, we didn't need a short to tell us that.
Right.
But I did like, in hers, I did like the fact that we saw more about the mother.
Yeah.
So
that backstory.
It gave us that.
Yeah.
So that gave us that. This gave us, like you said, more about the ship and the character of what the ship is going to become, but I don't know if that's necessarily the character of the ship now.
Right.
So maybe that's what we'll get in season 2 that ties here is little things happening that start to give the ship more character.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's been fun talking about Calypso today, but this isn't the only thing we've been discussing on the network. So here's a quick look at some of the other things you may have missed elsewhere on Trek FM.
Previously on Trek.fm, continuing mission.
Another production. And now...
Another 4th, I
yeah, but now they are. And that in itself seems to me to be laying the roots or the basis for something that could grow bigger sometime in the future. I mean, let's get this one out of the way and then see where it goes from there. But now you have a collective.
Earl Grey.
Detecting Romulan life forms. Oh, sorry. Did you say there are Romulan life forms?
Yeah.
No, I said there used to be. So you
Romulan
detect fate signs.
What have you guys created?
Yes.
Okay, so there are life forms. Interesting, fascinating.
Was
life forms.
They're gone now, but there was traces of life forms that were present at the shuttlecraft.
Oh my goodness. Dead Starfleet officers, dead Romulans. This isn't really helping much, is it?
Standard orbit.
This episode is emblematic of how it wanted to grab the bull by the proverbial horns and wrestle those kinds of issues to the ground and serve as an example of where a certain subset of people stood at the time in trying to react to the craziness of their own world. And that's one of the things that I just continuously love about this show.
The 602 Club.
And that's the thing. I think you need a movie like this, because most of the time when we think about astronauts and these heroes who do these extraordinary things, we're painting with a very broad brush. Even in The Right Stuff, which, like I said, it at least gives you some differences in the personalities of those guys. This is like, this masterclass in this psychology of this one particular person.
And that's what else is happening on Trek.fm.
Check out all these shows and join the conversation about your favorite corner of the Star Trek universe and beyond. You'll find us wherever you get your podcast. If you're an Apple user, be sure to hit the subscribe button in Apple Podcasts on iPhone, iPad, or Apple TV, or the desktop iTunes app to get the latest episodes as soon as they are published. And please leave us a star rating and written review.
If you're not an Apple user, we've got you covered as well. You can find our shows on Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, Windows Phone, in most third-party apps, and you can stream and download the MP3 file from our website or grab the RSS link.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's show, and there are many ways for you to do that. The best place to join in the larger conversation is the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type Babel, Babel, into the search field on Facebook, and it will come right up. If you'd like to send us an email, you can use the form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and select the Edge. That will come right to us. You can also find the network on Twitter at TrekFM and on Facebook at facebook.com/TrekFM. So, Patrick, where can people find you when you're not reprogramming the computer to replicate clothes that fit?
Well, when I'm not doing that, and boy, do I do that often, or at least I have someone do it for me. They can find me on Twitter. I'm at MagicDrop5. It's one word. The 5 is a digit. They can also find me popping up in the Babel Conference from time to time. And they can also find me on the network over at Warp 5 with my friends Brandon and Brandy. So, Amy, where can people find you when you're not standing in your classroom on a Saturday because your principal said, stay here, and then went home for the weekend?
Oh, well played, well played. My students will come back to me, I'm sure. Well, you can find me here on the network. I co-host Earl Grey with Justin Ozer and Richard Marquez, and that's about Next Generation. You can find me on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson, but my favorite place is on the Babel Conference.
If you'd like to help us keep all our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron on the network on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/TrekFM. That's patreon.com/TrekFM to get all the details. Perks include early access to episodes, exclusive content, producer credits, and more. Available through our special patrons website, Patron Zone. It requires a great deal of money to produce, host, and distribute these shows each month. We really appreciate any support you can give us and hope you'll join the team. Again, you'll find all the details at patreon.com/TrekFM.
We'd also like to thank our sentient computers, our associate producers. They are Norman Lau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Puleo, Lisa Slack, Shoaib Mirza, Richard Rutledge, James Muldrow, Cornelia Reutner, Brian Mallett. Thank you for supporting Trek FM and especially The Edge.
Thank you for listening, and join us next time to see what's happening on the edge of Federation space.